Okay. Yeah. So yes, intro. You want to give a quick introduction, Uncle John?
Okay, sure. Uh, my name is John, and the reason that I wanted to do this a little bit longer one to present myself to you, the audience of sorts, is because on November 1st, I just turned 79. And it dawned on me that number one, that I'm getting a little bit older. And the other thing that I thought is that I'm starting to lose my marbles. And, once you lose your marbles, it all sorts of turns into gray mush. And I probably won't make much sense after that. But anyway, the opportunity to initiate a discussion triggers in me the idea of sort of somehow presenting my worldview. And of course, I've hinted at that in all these previous ones. And the thing I'm referencing is that the idea of consciousness and the content of consciousness. But I wanted to tie that together a little bit. And in saying that, the thing that I really want to present is the idea that when we realize that there is consciousness and just the content of consciousness, I want to say that consciousness is what I'm doing. And the content of consciousness is everything else. And the intriguing part of that is when you realize that you are consciousness. Consciousness itself is no thing. And the content of consciousness is everything. But when you delve into that and you start to stumble over the reality of it, you realize that consciousness is no thing, and that is what I am. And I think that what the common response to that is to immediately create a me when you realize that no thing is sort of a scary place to be. When you are nothingness, the society reacts in general, in even for an infant, in creating the me. And the me is really an artificial construct of society. And what's really interesting about that is that it's artificial to the degree that we've created it in lieu of being nothing. And I'm sort of fascinated by that. My wife has the baby today, and she's singing a lullaby, and I can hear it in the background, so that's why I was laughing. Anyway, this whole thing really is, I wanted to sort of tell a story about this. And the story begins with, and I'll just give you the skeleton remnants of this story. And that is that one time on the internet, I paid a guy $300 in order to prove that I don't exist. Now, in some ways, that was money well spent, but I'll get to that. But this story has a lot of ins and outs, and as I go along, I'll sort of I'll come back to that story. And this is one of the loops back to that story, is when we create the me, that is the thing that I paid him to look at that doesn't exist, which is sort of a roundabout, convoluted way of completing the story. But what's really interesting about that is that it comes back to the paradoxical nature of who we are and the very life force. And I wanted to discuss a little bit about the idea of what we are in this consciousness. One of the things we do, and is very predictable in all human beings, is we are all self-preserving. And in being self-preserving, really, that's the largest category you can think of self-love. So we all have that ability to self-preserve. And now there's a bit of a paradox here, because we also look across the vast chasm of reality and find somebody else to love. And when we do that, there's an immediate awareness that we can't be self-preserving for them. That's their job. But there's a real paradox to this, because as we love another, one of the things we do, on one level, we're self-preserving. On the other level, in loving another, we make ourselves vulnerable to reality by loving another. And then the paradox continues, because what happens is when we truly love the other, we make ourselves totally vulnerable, but in loving, we make ourselves also strong. And in doing that is the ultimate paradox of love. And so I think it's valuable to say here in this self-preservation thing that life is love and love is life, and that's all a very positive thing. But as we reach out to the other in this experiment of life, we also make ourselves very strong. And so I just wanted to point out the paradox of that. And so I know this is a little bit confusing probably in the way I'm presenting it, but I'm not really totally organized in that. And one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm studying the Tao Te Ching. Well, let me just back up a little bit. I read the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, which is a book, of course, that was written 538 years prior to BC. And what's interesting about doing this, I was so impressed by the book that now I read one stanza a day and I meditate on it, I think about it, and I read it probably 5 or 6 or sometimes 10 times to see if I can understand it on a more deeper level. And one of the things that I've discovered is that the world is a lot more complex than I initially thought. I have to give the Tao credit for uncovering that, but it's also the realization that there's all these things in the Tao that I'm actually familiar with. So I suspect that I've been using the Tao my whole life and not knowing it. One of the things it says is practice doing nothing and everything will fall into place. Another place it says, I forget the quote, but it's all about, the Tao is within you and you can use it any way you want. There's a lot of almost contradictory ideas inside this book, but it's very interesting, and that's why I say it's a little bit more complex than I realized. Anyway, the one of the ideas that I have recently stumbled on is everybody right now thinks that our society is in upheaval. There's so many negative things happening, and they talk about nuclear war and climate change and AI. And I wanted to present a variant to that idea that it's all doom and gloom. What I think is happening is a renaissance, and it's not a renaissance in just one part of the world. It's a renaissance in the world in general. And the reason I say that is that during a Renaissance, during the initial Renaissance in Europe in, when was it, 11th to 12th century, of course, the Black Death triggered that one. And people all thought, at that point in time, a quarter to a third of the population died from that. And they thought it was the end of the world. And it was very gloom and doom. But what was happening is it triggered all these amazing different ideas. And not to speak evil of Christianity or anything, but it is intriguing to recognize that idea, that story, has held a Western civilization in hostage for almost 2,000 years. And we're finally breaking free of that. And I think that is one of the reasons that we're entering a new area of Renaissance, where all these different ideas are coming together, and there's an explosion of new ideas. And I am very impressed by young people right now, that they don't respond to the doom and gloom aspect of this, and are responding to this new reality that's been created by computers and IT and all the different new ideas that are coming on board in society. And all of a sudden, I realized that that's what we're really looking for, is a new consensual reality that we can all agree on. And civilization goes through these periodic convulsions where this happens. And I think right now that's what's taking place. So we're about to emerge into a braver new world. And I think that's an explanation for why we all feel this doom and gloom, because you have to do that before the dawn of a new era, for the awakening. Is there any more questions there, Andrew?
Besides the Trump one, no.
Yeah. I guess I just wanted to present this because I know a lot of the snippets that I put online there are teasers more than anything else. And I know my explanations probably don't tie them together very well, but I wanted to suggest that reality is not as it appears, and there's a very beautiful, positive thing happening in our society, rather than the doom and gloom or destruction that everybody reports on the news. Like, I know we are, as a society, convulsing with the torque and the difficulties that are happening through society. But I wanted to put a different spin on it than what is normally being given right here. So I offer that up for your thought or your idea, and see what you think about that. So anyway, I know this isn't, you're not hearing, you're actually listening to somebody who's probably losing their marbles. So maybe this is not totally accurate, but I think it's a good glance into what we are experiencing as a society. And I also wanted to say that I don't know, this theory also complements my artistic work. And, if somebody wanted to, get a glimpse into how I see the world, you can get Read the Rooster and Rocko the Mean Butterflies in Stories from the Barnyard. That's a book I put out there. And it's very fanciful and very fantasy driven, but it's also a connection to this reality in a very strong way. And also, I've been writing a lot of stuff that I haven't published, and so that's out there too. And maybe I'll try to publish that stuff as we go forwards. So I just wanted to try to present this, and I know I'm not a good presenter here, and it's probably all very confusing, especially the consciousness and the content of consciousness. But I do believe that each one of us is his own universe, and we are amazing creatures, and the life energy inside of us, the core of that is all love. And it can't be anything else. And our urge for self-preservation, I think, feeds that life is love and love is life. Let's go forward in a positive way. That's what I was offering here as an idea. Okay. I hope that, I don't know if that's any good, but